Welcome to Deb Talk with your host, Deb Darling. On this pod, I'll be asking the hard questions that life throws our way. What some are scared to talk about and others wish they did. Sex, cultura, kids being assholes, overeating, butt sex, shitty jobs, and so much more. I'm on this journey of getting to know myself and others. So come join me! Welcome to Deb Talk with your girl, Deb Darling, and I am here with my very special guest, Miss Rissa. Welcome, welcome,
Hey.
welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely, I'm happy to have you. So tell the people who you are, what you do, a little bit about yourself, and all that good stuff.
You got it. So I am a Boston-based model, pinup model, boudoir model, freelance. And yeah, that's kind of what I do. It's my thing. And yeah, I lived in the Boston area my entire life. And that's pretty much it about me.
That's dope. Dope. So let's get right on to it then. Let's get right into our first segment, which is the weekly inquiry. And this weekly inquiry was, how has it been living with depression? And I know that you said this is very near and dear to your heart, and is for myself as well. I have lived with depression for a very long time, so I thought this was a very great topic to talk about. So you can begin and let me know your thoughts on living with depression.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've lived with depression for the majority of my life. I was diagnosed roughly around 12 years old, so I was really young. I have a family history of it, which is, you see that a lot, especially with mental illness and mental health issues. And same goes for like myself and a lot of people. It seems to be genetic. And my experience and my diagnosis was actually, it came to pass when my family was the victims of a violent death, violent crime. And that kind of was the catalyst for like me going to get diagnosed, because after that happened, it was I realized, and I think more so, well, my parents realized that there was something happening. I wasn't the same person, and it was definitely something that I needed help for. And from there, I tried out talk therapy, which is really great. Medications, but yeah, it's been a really big part of my life. But it's been a part of my journey.
I feel that.
Yeah.
So when you were in high school and everything, you were going through depression. You said that you were on medication. How did it affect you while you were in high school and like middle school and all that? Because if you got it at 12, you were in middle school. So yeah, how did it affect you?
It affected a lot in my life. So the medications are tough because everyone has a very individual experience. If you're on antidepressants, some people respond really well to them, while others don't. For me, it was almost like I had to go through quite a few to find the right mix and the right cocktail that worked for me. And it took a long time. It took a very long time to get to the point where I was in a good place and I found the right mix that worked for me, and I was like, okay, this is something that I can live with and that'll help me cope. And honestly, I don't think I got to that point until after I graduated from high school. So you have that time span between like 12 years old and like roughly 18, that it was just like you feel like a guinea pig, because you're trying all this stuff out. But honestly, it was the best thing that could have happened for me. And between doing the medication and doing consistent talk therapy, like if anyone's going through it, I can't recommend seeking out that help enough, because it makes a world of difference.
That is so true. Therapy for me has been a game changer.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
It's super important. Super important.
Mm-hmm. I personally have lived with depression and anxiety for a majority of my life as well. I was diagnosed with it when I was about 10.
Mm-hmm.
I was a victim of sexual assault, and
so sorry.
Yeah, I said it all like nonchalantly. Yeah. So when that happened, it was tough. So my mom had put me in therapy then, and I had just been in therapy for a while, but I never was on medication or anything. But I would lash out, and I'd be extremely sad or really happy, and I used to always be like, I'm bipolar. And I didn't really realize like all the other things that bipolar had, because everyone else my therapist would be like, you're not. And she never really diagnosed me with depression, because I've always been pretty happy to the world, and I never wanted to show the world that I was actually really sad and very just like, I didn't really want to do anything. But because I had friends, because I had all these people around me, I was faking the funk for the world to see that I was this happy person when I really wasn't. Even when I would go to therapy, there were things that I wouldn't say, because I've had multiple therapists, just because I've moved and different insurances and things like that. So when I was younger, that's when they told me I was depressed, and then I switched, and then they were like, you're not depressed. Like, you don't show any signs of a person that's depressed. But they had no idea when I was going home, I was crying every day.
Right.
Like any of that. So it wasn't until, I want to say like 2 months ago, and I'm 28 now. So from 10 to 28, I have been living with this, but it wasn't until 2 months ago that I was like, I am fucking miserable, and I have no reason to be miserable. I have a good life for the most part. I have a kid, she's great. I have a baby daddy, he's great. Like I for the most part have a good life, but even with all of that, I've still just like all these other things just come back and feel like haunt me. And I just was sad for a very long time. So it was last month when I told my therapist, I was like, listen, I don't know, but I'm about to have another baby. And the fact that I am so sad, because I was just crying every day. Every single day, I was just crying, and I didn't want to get out of bed. And I was like, okay, well, especially when the quarantine happened, I was like, this is perfect, because I don't want to see anybody anyway, and I don't want to leave my house anyway. So it like made my depression go from mild to like extreme. And nobody on social media would ever know, because I'm not going to go put all of my business out there, and I don't want people to feel like, oh, she just wants sympathy or attention or whatever.
Right.
So I just kept it bottled in. And she's like, well, do you want to try medication? And I was like, I honestly just want to try anything that's going to make me feel better, because right now I don't feel okay. And then for a while she was like insinuating, it would make sense, but seeing if I was going to kill myself. And I'm like, no. More so, like, I know it might sound that way because I'm so sad, But like having a child that I literally live for, I can't even think of doing that at all. Like that,
Right.
I feel like I would cry every single day before I do something like that.
Right.
So then she prescribed me Zoloft, and that has been, it's worked magic.
That's
Magic
incredible.
for me. Yeah. So for the past month I've been on it, finally started kicking in, and once it started kicking in, it actually started kicking in within a week and a half. But the first week and a half was torture. I couldn't eat anything. I was just throwing up. Like I would take it, and then an hour later I would be throwing up. If I ate breakfast, boom, I'd throw up. But a week and a half later, I stopped crying. The whole nine. Prior to that, I was crying to everything. Like when I mean everything, it could be good, bad, sad, happy. It didn't matter what it was. I was crying. I'd be in my bed just sobbing, and my mom would be like, Deb, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. And it was just a really tough time. And it's so crazy that it was just like, it feels like just the other day. But so this topic was definitely also very near and dear to my heart, because I'm like, I live with this shit for so long, and I've been dealing with this shit for so fucking long, and I'm just ready to just feel normal again.
Right. And you are so not alone in that, because I mean, you touched on a few really important things there. The idea, I think that if you're experiencing depression or any mental health crisis, there's this common like thought that goes through most people's heads, like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. My life is good. Like, you know, I have all this going for me. Why am I still feeling the way that I'm feeling? And I remember when, like, I would be going through, because I call them like cycles. Like, I'll go through depression cycles every once in a while. And when I would go through them, like, I'd have family members and friends who were like, well, you know, like, your life is good. You know, you have a lot going for you. You've done a lot. You know, you're smart. You work a full-time job. Like, you have all this stuff going for you. But why do you feel the way you're feeling? And it gets to the point where it's like you start to almost like try and trick yourself into thinking like, well, they're right. I have all this going for me. Why do I feel this way? There's no reason for me to feel this way. But what it comes back down to is it's a chemical imbalance, you know, and it's triggered by a ton of, like, that imbalance is triggered by a ton of things. It can be triggered by traumatic experiences, or, you know, just life stressors that we go through. It's not you being ungrateful for the life that you have. It's you experiencing something that is, in my opinion, and from what the research I've done, biological, and not something that you can easily change, you know? And I think with the quarantine and everything going on with COVID, it's made it that much worse for people, because I mean, I know with my experiences and with my mental health, it's certainly taken a toll. And at first I was like, I mean, this is like I'm fine being isolated from people. Like, that's totally, like, works for me. Not not a problem.
Right.
But like, after a while I realized, I was like, oh, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And it really, really took a toll on my mental health and well-being. And a lot of people in my family who deal with the same thing, like, we've talked about it, and like, they feel the same way. Like, the disconnect that you have from people, like, especially family and friends, it's this is a tough this is a really, really difficult world to navigate right now with the pandemic, especially if you have mental health issues. It's very, very difficult, and we need to be more kind to ourselves and realize that there's no good way to deal with this. There's no perfect way to handle this. So you can only do the best that you can do.
I agree 100%. That's why
when for the longest time, I was against medication because I was like, I don't want to be dependent and all these things. But then as the time came, I'm like, I need to be able to get a hold of this. I need to get a grasp on my life, my mental health, because right now I'm not okay. And it took me a while to realize I am not okay, and that's okay.
Right.
It's okay, and it's okay to realize I'm not okay. And that sometimes you need that extra help, whether it be the therapy or the medication or however it is for you to help to cope with the depression. So yeah, I agree. And then a lot of people that don't suffer from depression, they really don't understand. And then it becomes more frustrating when they start pointing out the good things in your life. Because it's like, I'm aware that all these good things are happening, but I'm also aware that something's not right within me that you can't see. So what it feels is like you're judging as opposed to helping the situation. So if you do not I'd rather people not say anything than try to soothe me by telling me all the good things that are happening.
Totally agree.
I'm just like, what? Like, I know these good things are happening. I get it. I see it every day. But I also get, and I see in my head, all these things going on. All 100%. These I sometimes say to myself, why do I feel crazy? I don't understand. Like, I feel nuts. And it's tough. So I am definitely really on board with everything you have said on depression, because I feel that 110%. It's really hard because I don't talk to people often, ever really, that suffer from depression. So this conversation is very exciting to me, and it makes me very happy. So thank you again for being here.
It is my pleasure, Deb. And honestly, I am so excited because this isn't something that I talk about much either. And I really I try really hard to put myself out there as much as I can because stigma, we've gotten a lot better, specifically in our country and society wise, with reducing stigma and not being as judgmental or harsh with people who are coping or dealing with mental health issues. But we still have a long way to go. And I think the more visible and the more vocal people are about their experiences, the better off we'll be. And I think that after all this is said and done, like the pandemic and everything, we're going to see a major mental health, I don't want to say crisis, but there's going to be there's going to be a lot of people who need help, and there's going to be a lot more people who are more willing to go and get help because other people have kind of stood up and told their stories, and it's going to be more acceptable than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago. Because I know when I was a teenager, I would have never come out and been like, yeah, hey, I'm depressed. Like, this is what I'm dealing with.
For sure. Because when you're young, you feel like everyone is being critical and everyone's judging you, and then you become crazy, and it doesn't become something, it's not looked at as something that is, you need help. It's looked at, there's the crazy girl. Oh, she's right. It doesn't come off well. So I completely agree. In high school or even in middle school, I would have never, ever, ever for a single second thought to tell anyone that was happening in my head.
Yeah, I never would have said a word. And I know because of my experiences, I mean, middle school and high school were tough anyways for me personally, because I dealt with bullying a lot, which I think a lot of kids do. That's certainly not unique to me. But because of
But it doesn't help the situation at all.
No.
Especially when you suffer from depression.
Exactly. And because of that, I don't think I would have ever come forward and said, hey, this is what's going on. Like, this is how I'm feeling, because you already feel like an outcast as it is, and you don't want to reinforce other people's thoughts of you by saying, hey, this is really what's going on with me. Because people, especially kids, will run with it and be like, oh yeah, she's definitely confirmed she's the weird one.
And draw way more attention to you, when you don't want that type of attention.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I was very much the type to kind of go off into the shadows and like
Mm-hmm.
try and stay out of people's other people's like attention as much as possible. So that would not be me. Now as I've gotten older, I'm going to be 29. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to say whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the time to say something and speak up.
I agree. Me, in high school, I always say I was a piece of shit. I was not really nice. I mean, I was nice to the people around me. And even then, I don't think I was a bitch. Like
Right.
that was the best word to describe me. I was a bitch. And I had a lot of friends, but I felt like I had a lot of friends because I was outspoken and I was talkative, and I have never had a filter, and I've always just spoke my mind and been very opinionated, and that drew people to me. But at the same time, I took advantage of that, and I was a bitch. And because of the way that I was such a bitch, I never thought that I could come out and say something like that, because I came off so confident and so just all these different things that no one would have, like, I feel like no one would feel bad for me because I was such a bitch. So when I got out of high school and everything, I was like, I kind of completely changed. When I got into college, I was just like not nearly as outspoken, not nearly as like bitchy or none of that. I mean, I still have my bitchy moments, but not,
don't we all?
Yeah, right. But definitely not who I used to be. And I've had to send my fair share of messages to people like, dude, I'm sorry I was sort of so shitty to you in high school. Like it sucked. So I wasn't bullied, but I was on the opposite side of that. I wasn't the bully, but I just wasn't nice. I was nice, but I wasn't, I was friendly. I wasn't nice, but I was friendly. And I don't know. Yeah, I say that all to say I couldn't come out because I was a bitch necessarily, because I was too scared to come out. I was too scared of judgment.
Well, and that was your coping mechanism. That
Yep.
was your defense mechanism, and how to keep yourself, strong and resilient. And the fact that you can look back at that and recognize that is huge in and of itself, and it shows how strong of a person you are.
I just, especially now having a daughter, I just want to show her that you don't have to be that to get attention. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be a bitch. You don't have to be any of those things. I want her to be the best person possible and stay true to herself and not feel like I'm going to have another daughter, and I just feel like I have to show them like such an example. And I feel like if I don't clear my past, then the future for my kids, more so, not necessarily me, because I'm no longer going to be in a situation where I'm in a group of like the school or anything like that.
Right.
So I just have to make sure that they're the best version of themselves and me. Because my daughter, she's just like me. She's a little firecracker, and I already see her, and I'm just like, I need to do everything in my power to just keep her from being who I was and feeling the way I felt.
Yeah. And that's the fact that you can recognize that, though, and you're being proactive. And I think that your daughter is going to be just fine. And she obviously has a great mom. And she is going to grow up and be just as strong as you are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, well, let's move on to my second segment, which is the weekly shenanigans. And this is where we discuss bullshit that we've seen on social media this week. And it could be a story that you've seen or you heard. It can be an amazing meme, picture, video, anything that really blends well into this conversation. For me, it was, as we talked prior to the show, about this man that drives me fucking nuts, Mr. Trump. Yeah, I saw this, I think it was yesterday. He was told this Asian American woman to go and ask China and not him when she
Yeah.
asked him about the pandemic and people losing their lives, and he completely dismissed her and told her to ask China and not him. And he proceeded to tell her colleague that her time was up because she didn't answer him like the first time he called on her. And then he walked off out of this press conference, and I thought that was complete just bullshit. And it's like, you are the president of the United States and you can't even have a conversation or answer the hard questions that people have for you. And it's like, you don't have control of what's happening in a way, because it's like I don't blame him for everything, just most things, but like I understand that he doesn't have control of everything that happens. There's lots of branches of government. There's like all these other people that have to vote and do all these things as well. But it's like, just have the conversation so you don't look like an asshole all the time. And I just thought this was bullshit, and I couldn't believe my eyes and ears. And yeah, what do you think about this?
I think we're living in a crazy time, Deb.
I agree.
Crazy. Like you said, he doesn't control everything that goes on, but at the same time, it's just so hard. Like, this is a weird time in our country, and I'm hoping that we eventually get to the point where we can unite to a point and realize that like things need to change, because it's frustrating. It's frustrating, to say the least.
It is. He has made the country feel so divided, and it's sad. More than anything, it's just really, really sad that when we were coming together, not amazingly, like things weren't changing drastically, but things were starting to get better for everybody, minorities, Black people, white people, everybody. And then here he came and kind of messed up everything that we were working towards and completely shifted the dynamic of certain things. It's just been a really weird 4 years with him as president.
Right. And the division was always, I feel like there was always a divide, but with all of the I don't know, with every day it seems like that divide gets bigger, and you can only hope that even this COVID thing, maybe eventually we'll get to the point where we can all realize that there's a common enemy here, and we should be united, and we should be, fighting the important battles versus blaming other countries for something that they didn't do. Yeah. Like, God.
Right.
It's scary. It's scary.
It's so scary to see. I really hope he doesn't become president another 4 years, because I can't even imagine what our country is going to look like in 4 years.
Right.
It's crazy. But what was your shenanigans of the week?
Okay, so mine is actually, I had to go lighthearted. So I went with the meme. Have you seen the Shaquille O'Neal meme of him dancing with his family in the kitchen?
Yes, the one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So I'm basically like an internet grandma, because I just live under a rock apparently, and I just found this like a couple of days ago. And this has been a thing according to my boyfriend for a while. But yeah, I found a video of him and his family dancing to like Shake It by Metro Station. And I was like, this is the best thing in the world.
Right.
Also had no idea he was a DJ.
Yeah. I found that out like a couple of months ago, and then I saw that he didn't have a lot of comments. Like, he has a lot, of course, but like, so I was like, I'm gonna DM him and see if he responds, and he never responded. But I was really hoping he did. I was like, oh damn, maybe, because I've had other people respond. He's great. He's so funny.
it's, oh my God, it was hysterical. And his kids are just amazing. Like, his kids were so cute. It's like, I loved seeing him and his family just like doing something goofy and fun, and like we need more of that right now. We need more of that, and especially like seeing him hang out with his family, like it's so important. It's so important. Yeah, that was my shenanigan.
That's funny. Yeah, no, that was really funny. That whole thing. He's a really funny guy. He's funny to listen to. Have you seen his feet?
I have. Oh my God.
Aren't they the worst thing you've ever seen in your life? For such a rich man, I'm like, I know that you can afford someone to come to your house and cut those nails.
Right.
What is happening?
Those basketball shoes really took a toll on you, buddy. You need a pedicure.
Seriously. It's just so crazy. His feet are like facing this way. And I'm like, I don't want to I don't know. My feet aren't amazing, but damn, like he needs a pedicure for real. Like, what the fuck? I dreamt of his feet once. I was just like, oh God.
Oh no, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, imagine like being in like something and it just flashing. Like it was bad. It was bad. I don't know if it was a dream or a nightmare, but it was bad.
I don't know. It sounded like the second one.
Right?
Oh, poor Shaq.
Right.
Catch a break with his feet.
Seriously. So yeah, then let's slide around on into the weekly check-in. And this is where we talk about a current event topic where we're catching up on something that you saw on TV or maybe a show or on social media, the news, a magazine, whatever you thought was worth talking about.
Awesome. So for mine, actually, May is Mental Health Month. Mental Health Awareness Month. So this is actually very timely. And I went with there's a few actually Facebook pages that I want to give a shout out to, because the National Alliance on Mental Illness, specifically the Massachusetts chapter, has been doing some amazing things on their Facebook page and posting amazing resources for people coping with COVID and actually helping managing your mental health during a pandemic, which I think it's really huge and really important. And Mental Health America has been doing the same thing. So if there's anyone out there who's struggling to cope with everything that's going on, or even just with their mental health, or just needs a little extra support, like those two resources are absolutely incredible. And I know I've learned some of my coping mechanisms. Like I learned about meditation and doing yoga for anxiety and depression through those nonprofits, and it's been a huge help for me. So I just wanted to pass that on.
That's really dope. I'm gonna definitely be checking them out.
Totally worth it.
Sounds like it. So anyone listening, if you are interested, go check that out, because it sounds very resourceful and helpful. So mine was a movie that just came on Netflix. I haven't actually watched it yet, but I read a little on it, and I'm going to watch it either tonight or tomorrow. But I'm absolutely going to watch it, because as soon as I saw that trailer, I was like, wait a minute, like this is so dope. It's called A Secret Love.
Oh.
Yeah. It's about two women, Terry Donahue and Pat Henschel? Yeah. And that they lived 6 decades, since 1947, as best friends. So to everyone else, but they were actually secretly gay lovers. It seems extremely interesting that way back when there was so many like undercover gay people, like women, men, the whole nine. And the fact that these women lived their whole lives, and their daughters, like, pretty sure it was like their daughters or family members that were speaking out, and they were like, yeah, we had no idea that they were lovers this whole entire time, and they just came out like 4 years ago or something like that.
Oh
And I
my
was
God.
just like, wow, like you lived all this time. And like you see in the trailer, like one of the women, she's like putting the other woman's jacket on, and they're just like living together in this like nursing home looking thing, and it was just so beautiful. And I just thought that I just can't wait to see this. But I couldn't help myself. I was like, I need to talk about this because I haven't seen it yet, but
Yeah.
I'm going to, and I want everyone else to too. So I was like, let me just put it out there so that we all watch it together. But it was really interesting to see long time best friends actually being lovers.
That's amazing. I've actually, now that you mentioned the movie, I saw the trailer on Netflix as well, and it looks incredible. And the fact that I wish that they didn't have to come out, or didn't feel, I wish that they felt more comfortable where they could have come out much sooner than 4 years ago. But the fact that they're finally living their truth, and they're living their lives the way that they want to, and the way that they should be, like, that's incredible. I give them a lot of credit. That's a lot of strength and a lot of resilience to go that long and to live with such a huge secret.
I agree. I was just like, wow, like, I don't know if I could live in secret for that long. Like,
Oh, God,
I don't think I
couldn't.
could ever. Yeah, I'm like, I talk way too much. Like, I would have spilled the beans so long ago. I would have been like, my friend.
I totally would have too.
Yeah,
That would have been
I
it for
talk
me.
too much. Yeah. I would have been like, I'm sorry, but they have to know. Like, fuck it.
Seriously.
Right. So we can move on to my last segment, which is the listener Q&A. And I don't have any this week, but I was wondering, do you have a story or a question that you'd like to ask me for me to answer, or just for me to know?
Well, I think I would just like to say that, or just reiterate that, mental health is really important. Clearly, because you've experienced what it's like to struggle with it as well as I have. And I just want to make sure that people know that, you're not alone. This is something that, according to Johns Hopkins, 26% of Americans ages 18 and older, which is approximately 1 in 4 adults, suffers from a diagnosable mental disorder in a given year. Like, this is something that so many people deal with and so many people cope with. So if you're out there and you feel like you don't have someone to talk to, or you feel like you need extra support and you're afraid to reach out and get that because you're afraid that you're going to be stigmatized, I just want to say your fear is valid. I understand it, and I hope that you feel comfortable enough to take that next step and get the help that you so need and deserve, because everyone deserves to live a good life and be happy with themselves. And mental health is just as important as physical health. And most importantly, no two mental health journeys are the same. Everyone's is different. So whatever you gotta do to live the best life that you can, go for it, because there's no shame in that.
Absolutely. What works for you might not, or what works for somebody else might not work for you. So just because someone tells you they did something and you tried it and it didn't work, don't give up, because there's something out there. Something will give, something will work. Don't give up.
Absolutely.
Well, amazing. Yeah, I couldn't say it any better. That is absolutely true. And yeah, let the people know where they can find you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm Rissa Beau, Rissa, RISSA_BAUX. It's my modeling page. And you can also find me on Facebook. Reach out.
Perfect. And then to everyone, please remember to subscribe and comment and rate us on iTunes and everywhere else that you listen to your podcasts. And thank you for joining me on this amazing podcasting journey. And we started this episode asking, how has it been living with depression? And as I'm sure you can agree, it's never easy. Feeling sad, overwhelmed, anxious, constantly feeling alone, and no one understands you. Living with depression is something that millions live with and have no idea what is going on in their head. You're not alone, and this won't last. Therapy will help. Just talk to someone. If they can't help, talk to someone else. If they can't help, talk to someone else. You are not alone. I'm not an expert, but I'm always an ear to listen with no judgment attached to it. So, like I always say, everyone remember to keep an open mind and an open heart. Toodles!